I should never have taught you to self-promote.
Warmer is a GM as of next season, and we're going to try and find out who's going to join him. In DeadDraw's case, it's easy, but if Pignas wins, things get even more complicated. With me to help resolve it all is Gia D, and hopefully she can just carry me like she has been doing all weekend.
Oh, come on, Lorinda. You're far too heavy for me to carry.
Very, very good point.
Wait, I had to.
No, you can go with
anyway.
I remember these things.
I'm not actually that mean. I hope everyone knows that. But enough about us. This is for all the marbles now. You said it, DeadDraw. This is his win and in to GM, and potentially another step forward and just another feather in his cap, just having an amazing performance on top of all of the top 8s he's already made.
Yeah, and for Pignas, it's his first time at a big thing like this. The fans are absolutely behind him. I'm pretty sure that there'll be a lot of fans for DeadDraw as well. But also, iRock will be watching this one. If Pignas wins, then the other Frenchman has to win the final for iRock to get into the Grandmasters. That's how this works out.
It is very complicated, but the easiest way to boil it down is there's already 2 slots locked in for GM out of the 3 possible. Of course, So Warma, who just took his series a while ago, that final slot is heavily dependent on this next series. Pignas, as we mentioned, from Italy, having a very, very big following, at least from YouTube chat, as far as I have seen. Definitely a lot of people rooting for him. But DeadDraw, I would say, is the one with more experience. So it would be an underdog story if Pignas were to take this.
Yeah, and I'm not sure where we go from here if DeadDraw doesn't get in. He has been so close continuously since this system was set up. And he'll just have to go back to the drawing board and do it all one more time. His 3rd top 8, his 2nd top 4. We're only in the 6th event. It's absolutely insane. But for him to get there, he's going to need some help from this particular deck.
Yes, the Spell Druid is DeadDraw's first class of choice here. We're waiting on word for what Pignas has queued up, and it is actually Demon Hunter, so that's going to be a bit difficult for DeadDraw to get the win towards, but he has that Wild Growth in the opener and the Claw tech, which normally I would look at keeping versus Demon Hunter, but since he's on the play, I might favor him going a bit more aggressively looking for card draw.
Yeah, it's hard with the Claw because it's in there for this matchup, but you still don't really want to actually have it. It's better than the other cards you don't want to have. So you still mulligan it away, even though it's for this matchup, which is really weird until you think about it carefully.
In DeadDraw, nothing to do in the early turns, but he has 2 pieces of ramp. Pignas is going to start the offensive, though. He has a very clean 1-2-3 curve and card draw later on if he needs it. The Spectral Sight already on the outcast position. And DeadDraw, at the very least, has an answer for this Battle Mage with Moonfire Hero Power, but he looks to be hovering over this Innervate, the Vate Wild Growth into Overgrowth curve, which if he top decks Mount Cellar or Overflow in the next 2 draws, could be huge.
Yeah, I think this is the way here. Dealing with a minion is only met by more minions appearing the next turn, so you're going to eventually just be overwhelmed. Let's get that mana and see if he can draw into the good stuff in the deck.
Definitely agree with that one, Lorinda. He needs to be going for a counter-offensive and playing as the Druids do, which is just believing in the next card off the top. It does mean, however, though, that Pignas has had the time to get down this Bone Chewer Brawler and essentially protect the Blazing Battle Mage from just dying to Moonfire Hero Power next turn.
Yeah, but DeadDraw did... Yeah, he's done what he can, but he's going to face a beating. The Altruist now will actually deal with some of DeadDraw's outs as well, just by being able to deliver lethal through taunt, by being able to remove those Glowfly boards. Not that it would be a very big board, even if it was drawn now. And even the Mount Cellar doesn't create minions with massive amounts of health. This could just be over this first game.
That's right. From Pignas' perspective, he's probably most worried about Mount Cellar Bog Beam follow-up because he's seen DeadDraw did not have a Glowfly type had. He had the Ramp had. And, oh, he drew the Glowfly, though. That's not the big payoff card that he wanted. I was going to say that Pignas, I liked him going for the 3-4 over the 4-3 there, because if you're expecting a Mount Seller, then you want to put down a minion that doesn't die just to a Bog Beam.
So I think you have to Glowfly. You then Iron Bark.
Yes.
It's just not nice. Or do you... Yeah.
It's terrible, but... I think he has to stay alive. Otherwise, the 2-3 can just damage itself a little bit more. I guess then you could say you have the Moonfire, but for now, DeadDraw is saying just survive, get the Overflow. I think he's conceded that the Mount Seller off the top probably isn't good enough, but the Overflow could give him a win condition. As for Pignas, the Warglaives available to make quick work of this.
Yep, seems like the way forward. You don't care at all about your health total in this matchup as the Demon Hunter, so you can just Warglaives your way through. Druid doesn't do any damage if you kill all of its things, maybe one. So kill the things.
Yeah, I guess his only consideration is as to whether he wants to save a charge on his Warmaul, for example, and whether he wants to trade the Bone Chewer Brawler.
He's trying to save more, because there are a lot of pickups where you would like a weapon with a couple of charges equipped, such as the Overseer, for instance. But he's actually just going for the most timid way.
Yeah, I have to say I'm surprised that he didn't use a third charge to deal with a 2-2 instead of trading his Blazing Battle Mage. I am not sure what an extra 2 charges plays around exactly, because I think he had a solid read on there not being a Mount Seller, because it would have come down alongside the Iron Bark.
Yeah, he's just valuing those weapon charges. But, I mean, 2 charges does let him just kill the Mount Seller, I guess.
My argument is you do save charges if you expect Mount Seller, but I don't think... I mean, he had a pretty good read. It wasn't there because of the previous turn, right? It was Glowfly Iron Bark instead of Mount Seller Iron Bark. In any
but then
case,
nothing's there, so it's all top deck related. I prefer just leaving the minions up, because now he can put so much damage into face every turn.
Yeah, I agree. Would have preferred to see him preserve the Battle Mage, but in any case, DeadDraw is still getting... Oh, I hate that I have to make this pun. The DeadDraws, and Pignas has refill. The Satyr allows him to keep swinging. I guess that's the other big reason for holding on to both charges. He wants to make the Satyr turns as mana efficient as possible. There's a Mount Seller, but only one activation. It's a huge taunt, though. But there's
roll
a
the
cane in
dice,
hand.
get lucky, go!
My gosh.
Oh, he's...
One Griffin, one Dream, Lorenda.
Yeah, Pignas is covering his ears. I'm not sure if that's going to help, but it's definitely going to make him feel more comfortable.
Oh!
Oh my!
Okay, called it again. But there's still this cane! This cane! Just eats through the taunt. Not quite lethal, but it is very, very close.
But it only eats through it for that one turn, because then it gets removed.
So he could push a maximum of 12 damage face this turn. If that's what you're doing, I think I'd rather see him re-equip the Warglaives, because if he just plays Cane and goes face, then the Mount Seller trades into the Cane, the taunt remains, right? So we could see Pignas just hero power up, swing, re-equip Warglaives, swing, swing, swing.
Or you could play a Scoundrel and try and get some silence.
I like my plan better.
So do I!
Oh my gosh, this is insane. He is going down to 5 HP. I guess that gives DeadDraw an out for double Roar Lethal. That's why you're seeing him hesitate a little bit about this next swing.
I think you have to lose the minion here, honestly. Why give any out at all?
Well, the thing is, if you're giving... Oh, DeadDraw thinks that's a bad play, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that was DeadDraw saying, how am I losing to this guy? Because that's the cry of the Hearthstone player who is losing a game.
Well, I was going to say for Pignas, the possible argument was because he didn't have guaranteed lethal on the follow-up had he traded his minion. But if you don't trade the minion and the next draw is Overflow, I think he's pretty happy that he saved the minion there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, another Mount Seller available. But DeadDraw kind of wants to use some of these spells to get pressure out of the way.
What to do?
Can't
Did he use
believe
the
that in this
roar?
game he had a draw to win the game, though.
Yeah. If it wasn't the other roar for lethal, though, that was still a pretty good one to get. But I am considering whether he wants to use a roar to remove the 2/2 here.
Time waits for no one.
Just because as far as cheap spells off the top, that's the one that's hardest to pair with the Mount Seller, whereas the Bogbeam Moonfire will definitely get down with the Mount Seller. However, if you use Roar here, you're essentially missing a hero power.
Yeah, and all that health is so precious.
Okay, he's saving everything
Okay.
all together. 10, 13, that's lethal. The Cane, Chaos Strike, hero power.
Yep. I get the same as you, I think. 7, 10?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, easily.
Exact 14, right? Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Hide behind your servants. You will still
Counted it up once, twice, trying to make sure. I think DeadDraw pretty much knew he was very close to dying there. That's why you saw him say, why would you not trade the minion there? You're probably winning the next turn anyway. But the specific hand from Pignas actually didn't have that much burst. He needed that top deck to win right there on the spot. And now he's gotten the Demon Hunter out of the way.
1-0, and as you say, the Demon Hunter out of the way. That's the one solace for DeadDraw, is it's the Demon Hunter that got the win. They're expected to win anyway, so in Conquest, not total disaster. We've said it all weekend that you can afford to lose to Demon Hunters, but getting your Druid through would have been so nice. About a 1 in 15 chance, I think it was there, to just pick it up and win the game.
Mm-hmm. We do have a complete mirror, at least in terms of the classes. I'm going through the archetypes now a little bit, and I'm seeing some differences in the Druid. We already saw DeadDraw's build, the much more standard one without the dragons, but Pignas has the 2 Emerald Explorers. As for the Rogues, I think both players are running Questing Adventurer, but for Pignas, we're having the stealth package, whereas for DeadDraw, it's the secret package. So slight differences in the builds, but largely similar, I would say, in the pan out of you expect the Demon Hunter to take a win at some point on both sides.
Yeah, but going forward as well, I think the Rogues, there's not much in it, but I do prefer the stealth head-to-head, personally, against the secrets. I just think that in general, the secret package is slightly questionable. I don't want to say it's rubbish, because all the best players in the world have been playing a variant of this deck for weeks, so it can't be that rubbish, but the stealth package just makes more sense to me in the way it's put together.
I would favor it in the head-to-head, but I kind of prefer the secret version against Druid, because if you run the secrets, you tend to run easier, cheaper things to combo off with your Edwin turns, your Questing Adventurer turns, and I feel like those minions are very important to get down in the matchup. But we are heading into a Druid mirror now, yet again, Lorinda.
But this could be a Druid mirror that decides who is a Grandmaster next season and who is not. Because the Druids might get stuck, and here's your chance to eliminate their Druid.
That's right. For anyone who's just tuning in now, if DeadDraw wins this series, he gets a final slot in Grandmasters, all locked up alongside Warma and X-Blizes. If Pignas wins the series, he's not in just yet. He has to go on to win the entire tournament. Otherwise, it is IROC who becomes a Grandmaster. And
IROC has just had a horrible day sitting at home watching this, hoping that his friends lose. All of these things are just unpleasant. So, yeah, if he's watching this one with the sound on, good luck, IROC. I definitely feel for you. Okay, well, first piece of the puzzle is available for Pignas. A tough decision there already for DeadDraw, whether he wanted to keep that wild growth. I think it's right for him to go for something even more impactful here. The Fungal Fortunes is, I can't even stress the importance, especially when you're on the plate. You have less cards to work with, and your Glowfly is naturally going to be weaker if you don't hit the Fungal. So I don't mind the greedy mulligan from DeadDraw. And I have no idea what is going on here. There's no fungal, and the ramp is lacking as well on one side and struggling on the other.
Yeah, both mount sellers there, but no ramp. And as for Pignas, he has an active Breath of Dreams.
Yep, he's going to get into the meat of his deck much, much quicker than DeadDraw, and this DeadDraw rips a Wild Growth off the top now.
Overgrowth also would be very impactful. Okay, next turn, he can rip that and then follow up with the Mount Seller, Innervate Moonfire Claw. That could be his ticket to victory, but he's worried about what if it's just Coin Glowfly next turn. Do I ever win in that scenario? And I'm gonna go ahead and say even Innervate Overgrowth doesn't win that scenario, so I like that he's sticking to the original game plan that his hand has laid out for him.
Yeah, he just has that sort of shuffle in the chair there, which says, okay, sometimes you have this and I just lose, but he's so confident. He plays so much Hearthstone. He tests all the matchups so hard that that allows him to play these choices with confidence and know what the percentages are. Because you can be told the percentages, but you need to play a lot of Hearthstone to actually feel what that means.
Right, it has to become instinctual, I would say, because you can't discreetly do the numbers of all the branching paths and different panouts in every single universe. But if you play as much Hearthstone as a guy who's made top 8 3 times already in a Masters Tour system, then you definitely have those instincts. For Pignas, it was not the most straightforward turn because having to expend 2 ramp cards with an overflow in hand is a little bit clunky, but I think he's hoping to simply curve out into another dragon to play. None of them quite ideal going into 5 mana though.
And they tend not to be. The number of times I've gone for dragons in different decks with lackeys in general and looking for a 4 or a 5, there aren't that many. They're either big or they're like useless, like Brightwing. So
Yeah, Big Ol' Whelp would have been ideal there,
play.
And he would have been, I think, happy with a Feywing. But outside of those outcomes, I don't think there were many great dragons. I would agree. Brightwing could a way to fill out the curve, but he's just not had. He no longer has those ways to ramp up. The Black Knight.
Oh no!
Oh my god!
It's a Druid Mirror, so it should be okay for DeadDraw because he's not going to fog beam his Mount Seller. Ironbark his Mount Seller.
Right,
but in some matchups it happens, and sometimes you have to. Oh, DeadDraw presented with a choice, but it's only a tiny Glowfly actually.
Right, he could start with the Fungal, however, and then follow up with the Glowfly. The count for tiny Glowfly is the Mount Seller is, yes, 3 minions generated, but not an automatic clear onto any of the minions that Pignas already has. It would require him to get a rush minion on top of all of that. So I don't mind DeadDraw going for what seems to be a Glowfly setup.
Yeah, and it should be a full board near as damn it.
6 most of the time.
Because the minions are in hand, so it should be 6.
Yep. Oh my, this is so tense. But I think DeadDraw is fine to go for this because he knows Pignas is only heading into 6 natural mana, and so the big Mount Seller on the other side is not available yet. So this is maybe the one window where just the Glowflies without a buff spell can get some work done. However, for Pignas, he's drawn yet another way to curve out.
Yeah, this second Emerald Explorer is going to be a real kick in the teeth for DeadDraw. Because this is just now a tough board to get through. I know that you will get through a tough board as Druid.
It's
more Brightwing action.
Far too many Brightwings for my liking. The Malygos.
What about Malygos with double Moonfire in hand?
Okay, I like where your head is at, Lorinda, but without any ramp, I don't think that's a realistic choice for Pignas. I was actually looking at the Twin Tyrant because it looks like his turn 7 will either be Overflow or a turn of cleanup into the Twin Tyrant, but Pignas disagrees. I guess now he's looking to hold on to these Moonfires. It feels like he'll have to use them to remove minions soon, though.
But it's representing so much damage at 12 that just if these other minions can attack face once, maybe he won't need to. But yeah, he nods now. This is where things will turn, and the Malygos pick might turn out to be a bad pick.
Everybody, keep an eye on where this Ironbark lands at the end of the... because DeadDraw does not know, of course, that the legendary generated is the Black Knight.
Yeah, it seems unlikely that he'll put it on the Mount Seller because you know they're going to pick on that first anyway, so you don't want it to be attacked. But in some matchups, like against Warrior, you do buff the Mount Seller because you want this massive thing to just be in the way.
Very true. It's all about managing and predicting how your opponent's damage can be meted out and how they allocate it. And I think it was right there for DeadDraw to taunt literally anything else. Question now is whether he wants to innervate as well, get an additional beast. It's very close, but because he has the second Mount Seller, I think that pushes him over the line to holding Mount Seller instead. Or Breath of Dreams is so interesting here because he took the Malagos, but he wouldn't have the mana aside from that to also play the Black Knight, and then the Mount Seller would be left.
I was watching his face there. When the targeting happened, DeadDraw was just puzzled. It's like, what's targeting my minion? What's happening here? And they just like this sad shake of their head when you realise what was going on. But now DeadDraw's getting into a fairly good spot. The Malagos might end up having to be used just to get rid of the Mount Seller. And that's not next turn, that's the turn after, if such a thing exists.
I don't think this Malagos can come down. DeadDraw can refill with this Mount Seller. He has, at the very least, 2 procs of spells, and if he takes a draw with the Rising Winds, he can possibly pick up another Moonfire or Crystal Power. And then he can clear up the majority of this board and follow up with Savage Roar. Or he could use the Roar now, pretty smartly making use of the Porcupine Needles.
Yeah, watching DeadDraw is great. You just get to see great use of all the cards. When he holds a card, like when he stops attacking, that sort of thing. The turn where he left up 5 minions, kept a card in hand and didn't attack with one of them, but attacked with the other 4. Just beautiful use.
That was such a neat play as well. And yes, he did get the perfect outcome of it landing at 2 health after the needles went through and then his hero power could clean up. But even if it went to 3 or 4 health, then he could have just traded his Iron Beak Owl instead. This way that he went about it, I think he maximized his odds of keeping the most minions on board while still having a convenient answer.
And Pignas looking for help, but I'm not sure what help there is.
Not very much, but he can clean up 2 minions, get rid of the Panther, and then I guess because he has the Malagos, doesn't really want a Moonfire. At most you Moonfire just the Owl, but then how are you killing the Mount Seller? It's rough. But he has seen a Savage Roar, so maybe he feels like he can survive another turn.
Well, he felt like there wasn't going to be another Savage Roar in the Demon Hunter game, so why not?
Very true. DeadDraw is running the double Roar package, but only 1 Power of the Wild, worth noting. So there is 17 already on board, so I think he has to respect at least a little bit of burst potential because it was just 1 extra damage that DeadDraw needed.
And there is some there in the Power of the Wild.
13. It's still 17 with this and 18 with hero power, so DeadDraw can go fishing some more with his Rising Winds.
Yeah, I think he's working out if he feels he needs to. He does.
Do you mean overflow?
Oh, so just in terms of, instead of overflow,
I see.
and just fill up your hand. Like if I'm not killing them, do I care if they're on 6 or 7?
It's true. Oh, well, he finds it. That play had the upside of sometimes giving him an immediate lethal, and if it wasn't there, he could still end the turn with a full board and a Power of the Wild, so I like that DeadDraw went for that. Pignas, as predicted, did not get to play the Malagos down.
Yeah, and it was a good call. I think the Twin Tyrant wouldn't have worked out too well either, as it happens. I had a look on the turn, on turn 8, or whatever turn Druids have 8 mana on 2, 3, I don't know. And it looked like it wasn't going to do much. 1 apiece. I've never seen DeadDraw look this nervous, and he's not particularly nervous or emotional, but he is actually reacting, which is quite rare for him.
Yes, I think after so many near misses for DeadDraw, despite him having one of, if not the best, Swiss performance in the Masters Tour system thus far across all these 6 huge tournaments, I mean, the fact that he is not already at the pinnacle of Hearthstone is just mind-blowing to me, and you can see how much it means to him. I think it would be a great story if he manages to make it after that level of consistency. But on the flip side, we also have Pignas, who to me is a relative unknown. I'm sure the Italian community has known him for years, and he has a big following behind him, but largely looks like the underdog in this matchup, in my opinion.
Yeah, Pignas was on the ballot for HGG 2017, I want to say. It could be 18. I didn't get into the team, but people knew who he was. And his pitch was really humble. Again, I haven't got it in front of me, but it was roughly like, hey, I'm willing to learn. I learn fast. I play well in a team. Vote for me because I'll do my best for Italy. And I think that probably shows why he's so popular, that if he's got that attitude all of the time, then he just seems like a really nice guy.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely agree with that. And as far as who is favored now, though, I tend to hand it in the favor of the one who's already gotten the win with Druid, as opposed to the one who has their Demon Hunter out of the way. And now, DeadDraw is on the positive end of the matchup. Battle Fiend already in the opener, but nothing else that I think is worth keeping. However, Pignas has Crystal Power to deal with that Battle Fiend and Fungal to follow up.
Yeah, and this is a bit different to the other way around when we were talking about what to do with killing early minions, because this time it's on the coin, so you can afford to keep the crystal power because, as you say, there's the follow-up on 2, and you're not wasting your time.
Speaking of follow-up, though, DeadDraw's curve is non-existent. I don't think you can call Chaos Strike an ideal play on 2.
At least not in this matchup.
Yeah.
Agree entirely. In the mirror, sometimes it can be.
Shake of the head there from DeadDraw. His hand is so reactive, but this is not the matchup for this. Even on his turn 3 play, it looks to be just Volterra Scoundrel, not nearly enough pressure. Pignas is going to start the card draw. He has Innervate, he has Coin. If there's a Glowfly off the top, we could be looking at a very quick game.
Yeah, it always feels like the pressure's on against Druid. It feels like you're playing Solitaire against a clock, and the clock only has 6 numbers on it. It's like, yeah.
This draw is miserable for DeadDraw. After the Volterra comes down, he doesn't even have a Satyr Overseer, even a measly 1-drop to help him follow up. It is all reactive spells or mid-game spells. However, this Chaos Nova looks very interesting to me for a wide board clear.
Yeah, at the very least, it might buy you some time. If they mount Seller and made a load of things, at least you can kill the things.
Right.
If they Glowfly, at least you can kill the Glowfly. So yeah, he's given himself some time with that pick. Whether it'll be enough to actually stop anything is yet to be seen, of course.
The fact that Pignas has both of the Innervates is huge here. He can coin out this Overgrowth, still be able to Innervate the Mount Seller, and then Innervate Crystal Power, even though he's only on 6 natural mana. That seems kinda illegal to me.
DeadDraw, stop drawing these things. This is not the time.
Quick, change your IGN! Oh man.
Just change your RNG, I think is the 3 letters you're looking for. Oh my goodness.
Grow impatient.
Well, that's a playable Hearthstone card. Are we just looking at Control Demon Hunter now, Lorinda? This is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing Command the Illidari that also, I mean, deals with some boards. I guess you can make the same argument for Soul Cleave, but it's cheaper, and the hand already has a bunch of clunky things.
I grow impatient.
TBH, I think it's mystery choice, though.
I think it probably is. I think he has to weigh up that his hand is so awful that he might want to just play Command next turn as a card. But if that's your route, you don't win. So I don't think he will take it. But I think that's what he's weighing up. He's like...
Right.
And the other problem is... your board will be full of 1/1s that you can't get rid of because you're playing against Druid who doesn't play anything.
Well, he has taken the command here, and I think it's knowing that Pignas' next turn is going into 6 natural mana, so the most likely threat is just Emerald Explorer. But if Pignas chooses to turbo out the exotic Mount Seller, that could also be pretty problematic. I think it's right for Pignas to hold back, though, because he didn't have a great target with the Crystal Power. Why are there so many Bright Wings?
I don't know. I heard Raven asking why there were so many Lorewalker Chos earlier, and I've seen at least 1 in this tournament and possibly 2.
Oh, Rinda, this is... What does he even do? I think he summons the 1/1s and then chills.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to be able to chill in this position, but
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I'm just getting
Okay, sorry.
deliberately awkward.
I think that he doesn't trade them in immediately because the wide board is in some worlds awkward for Druid to deal with. I think if we're looking at the Druid's perspective, if they're going into the next turn with a clear board on the other side, that solves a lot of their problems, and then they can continue to develop with the Mount Seller. But maybe if DeadDraw has some 1/1s, he can find better ways to portion out the damage later on.
Well, as if he hasn't already, if he gets a Grandmaster from here, he will have really earned it. But we know he's earned it already.
Demons.
I feel like this is headed towards him just doing
Kane?
it. Okay.
Oh, alright. Meta preloaded. That gets his I-beam into the outcast position. He's gearing up for a clear turn. And actually, I think this is super smart. The Chaos Nova allows him to go through most of the beasts of Mount Seller, but then if these 2/3s don't stick, or if the taunt is in the way, he won't have additional damage to get rid of the rest of the Mount Seller. So he's relying on this Metamorphosis charge to get the job done.
Yeah, that is really well described. Everything is just set up well for that to happen. And
well, all of the beasts are within range except King Mukla, I think.
yeah.
And there's no Power of the Wild available at the moment. Oh my gosh. Control Demon Hunter, guys! It's happening!
Yeah, this is no fun for DeadDraw at all. Like you say,
However,
it's just the wrong time to be a control deck. If you're playing against Druid, you never want to be the control deck. It's like Hearthstone 101.
yeah. The Griffin is low-key insane here as well, because the Vulperas won't necessarily be damaging any of the taunt minions, which DeadDraw will need extra damage to get through them. It's huge though that the Pignas did not taunt up the Mount Seller, so now it's in range of Chaos Nova and Ping here.
Yeah, what he did this turn was he played around Altruist. He got rid of his low health
Correct.
minions and just put up some really big health minions left over, because that's what he's expecting the accident to be. But actually the accident, as we know, is this Chaos Nova plus Ping.
I grow impatient.
I mean, we call it an accident, but it still leaves 2 4 attack minions on the board. Still puts DeadDraw in a pretty bad position, but I just don't think he can afford to leave the Mount Seller up.
Yeah, it's not like he's going to get 25 damage through this board, even with a Kane setup, I don't think.
Demons.
You need to get 15 through if you count the pings. Just trying to find a way where you can win if they haven't got Savage Roar, but I don't think it's there.
And to make matters worse, Pignas' follow-up is not drying up anytime soon. He has the Onyxia discovered from his Emerald Explorer to immediately push the initiative.
Yep.
I will still.
Right,
DeadDraw attacking minions with Kane, that's never fun either.
Holds on to the Chaos Nova, crucially there, because he had an alternate way to deal with the Mount Seller with just Ping and I-Beam. I didn't actually spot that, but I think he realized that the Chaos Nova is still a very important resource if the follow-up is Glowfly. If he uses the AoE, that gives Pignas all of the incentive to just refill and go wide. So DeadDraw is holding on to this ace in the hole, but it's still not going to line up versus this next wave of threats in the form of Ysera.
Killing my 8 health minions, her. Here's a 12 health minion. See if you can kill that one.
Ooh. Ultras?
Yeah, but he can't get the skull out of the way. Or in the way, whichever way you like to look at that.
This is just... I don't even know what to call it. It's a complete disaster. He can go Warglaves and Chaos Strike. Allows him to soften up the board a little bit and free up the skull, but the numbers actually were pretty ugly there if you go for Chaos Strike, so he's using the Ping instead, and potentially gonna go Strike plus Skull next turn.
Yeah, from where he's sat, he's sort of getting through waves of stuff, but from where we're sat, there's still at least 2 more waves to come. Oh, and here's the stuff. The dragon.
Oh my... The Divine Shield on this is awkward as well because of Chaos Nova not going through the first layer. And Pignas can just play this Onyxia. If the only worry is Altruist, I think it's safe to assume, of course, the 1/1s will die, but probably so will the Glowfly, so I would rather play the one that gets you an 8/8 on top of the rest of the minions.
Agree. Because that's going to be some Altruist to do 12 points of damage, or at least 8 points of damage.
Don't think he has to use any of these other cards immediately. I don't think he ever dies from 21. My thinking is
it's really funny doing Demon Hunter math, isn't it? You sit there and you go, I don't think he dies from a really stupid big number.
Yeah. It doesn't happen unless there's been like, what, double skull? Twin Slice, though. It doesn't quite fit with the Chaos Nova. You can't go... Yeah, not enough mana. Not enough mana to do even the command on top of the Altruist. This is so messy. But at the very least, I think he can attempt to get rid of the Evasive Worm. Just doesn't get there though, unless the Chaos Nova draws him a way to remove Onyxia as well.
Yes. No, I'm not going to call it over. I've done that too many times in my career, but this is over.
Demons?
Is the Altruist,
Demons.
Chaos Strike, I-Beam, Twin Slice, Twin Slice?
Could be.
Not
I
seeing it.
don't think such a thing as an out exists here, so yeah, he's going for this route.
This route could have given him potentially double Frozen Shadow Weaver, but it's just not there. Pignas takes an unfavorable.
Yeah, and that's obviously a massive deal. We said it didn't matter too much when it went the other way around in game 1. It matters massively in this game 3, though. The Druids are both out of the way, and Rogue just got to get it done either in approximately a mirror or beating the Demon Hunter, which we've seen it do a lot this week.
Yes, Spy Mistress in any package is a huge factor in that, being able to fight back against the early pressure from Demon Hunter. But DeadDraw definitely can't count him out yet. He also has his own Rogue, which in the head-to-head you did say you favor the stealth version, but I think that with the secret version, there's some ways to cheat out a big questing, and that can also be pretty problematic when your opponent running the Blackjack Stunner to tempo that back into the hand.
It's a very fair point, and it will be interesting to see if we get to the point where it's a rogue mirror for everything, which one comes up. And I assume DeadDraw will cue the Demon Hunter here, try and put his opponent under pressure. This is usually the time when inexperienced players suddenly realise they might get to the final. Oddly enough, of course, if he wins one more game of Hearthstone, he will get to the final. And we've seen some awful things happen to people when they suddenly realise that.
Yeah, and on top of that huge pressure of historically making a final, there is the chance to get into GM. It's just been looming over every player's head right now. Also, iRock in this equation, watching from home, probably shaking in his chair, and I don't blame him, but we are on to game 4 now. DeadDraw has Battle Fiend again. Possibility to hold on to the Savior Overseer, but it could be a bit greedy given that he doesn't have the coin.
Imagine being iRock. Not only are you invested in like the natural flows of Hearthstone that can come and go against you, but every play that you think is a mistake, not every play that is a mistake, even every play you think is a mistake, you're screaming at the monitor saying, "No, don't do that." Even if you're wrong, it must be so horrible.
Amazing opener for Pignas. He has the Pharaoh Cat on the play, also had the backstab to remove the Battle Fiend, and now DeadDraw is having to play a little bit from behind. For Pignas, though, the follow-up looks to be coining out the Evil Miscreant, or just going for the dagger here. I would be partial for immediately removing the Battle Fiend, because he could then follow up potentially on the 3-mana turn with Coin Miscreant and a Lackey, or the Spy Mistress that he just drew. So if he does end up going for the Miscreant here, the benefit sometimes is that if the Battle Fiend takes a value trade into the Pharaoh Cat, then the Miscreant can clean up, and sometimes you have a lackey that can pay off from a damaged minion. But I do like the more measured approach from Pignas there, just taking, removing all the minions from the board, and then starting again with the coin still in hand. Metamorphosis is an option for DeadDraw, however, his hand is already so heavy. I think the meta's a bait there. I definitely like his pick of a cheaper spell.
At least this time it's not quite so bad that it's a heavy hand. It's not like against the Druid where it's a complete catastrophe, it's just bad news this time around.
Right.
Those big cards are going to get their moment in the sun, and he is going to get the moment to maybe have a chance to swing it back around his way.
Pignas doesn't pick up Kobold or the Goblin, which he really wanted to see there, but he could taunt up the Miscreant, make it very awkward to remove, or alternatively, develop the Spy Mistress, which I think is very useful in almost any point against Demon Hunter outside of the Altruist turns.
So, already... Actually, that's kind of strange. I was about to comment on that, but I think I'd just like the Spy Mistress back.
Well, the Consume Magic can remove the taunt on this. He won't get the card draw because it's not an outcast position. But if the alternative is just playing the Satyr Overseer and attacking, is that any better? The Satyr is dead on board if you go for that play, but it is the most immediate pressure.
Right, and you have to ask, when will I play the Satyr if it's not 9? Does this game go to turn 8 or 9 in a balanced state? Will I get the opportunity to use it ever again? And that feels like a nope in this matchup. Like, you might not be dead, but you might not have the chance to actually use it effectively.
My answer would be if you have the Warglave's turn, that could be potentially a good reason to hold on to it, but not available there. The I-Beam is available, but it's still 1 damage short along with the trade to actually clear off the Miscreant immediately. I still think you take it.
2 double Volpera draws in a row is not where you want to be. This is definitely the 29th and 30th cards of the deck. I don't think anybody disagrees on that.
It happened in the last game too, and Pignas has drawn into his questing adventure now. I don't think it's too good this turn. Develop another Miscreant here, and he can continue taking these trades and just remaining ahead on board. The Goblin Lackey pickup is huge as well.
Yeah, and just looking at this questing, it's going to be just ridiculous sized.
I think he bumps...
It's not even going to be ridiculous, it's just going to be big enough. You get it to 5-5, it can't be shot down, and then it wins the game from there on.
Can be rushed too to take a value trade. I think for this turn, Pignas double trades his minions into the 2-2 for 2 reasons. I think the dagger he would like to hold on to for flexibility because it doesn't look like he'll have mana to dagger up anytime soon. There's also just saving that immediate 2 HP. You can make an argument for keeping the Miscreant at 3 health because it's not immediately dead to just the Volpera. Is that another Glavebound? Are you kidding me? This draw for DeadDraw is insanely bad.
Yeah, you said it before. He's got the name to match the situation. It's looking like it's slipping away again for DeadDraw.
I can't believe what I'm watching. All of the cheap cards outside of just a Battlefield on 1 in both last game and this one seem to be at the bottom of DeadDraw's deck. He is going to take the turn to develop the Satyr Overseer though. I mean, at least next turn he's going into the Glavebounds being active. There's a chance to swing it back, but also for Pignas, this is the moment to seize full control of the board and start pressuring himself.
Yeah, and look how it's going to develop for him. I mean, that's the moment. He's just realised he might be going to the final, like actually realising this is happening to him. He just didn't even look at the screen there for a second or two. This Galakron Kronks combo in 2 or 3 turns time just ends the game. So he's just got to be sensible until he gets to that point, and he will win this game.
See him going for the devoted maniac there, as opposed to the questing. Even though he could have cleared up a significant amount of the board with a questing, ethereal, and goblin lackey play, I think he realized that it still would have been vulnerable to Glavebound Adept, so he's holding off a little bit more, getting the invokes out of the way, and he picks up a shadow step, which is very relevant as well because of questing and goblin lackey.
Yeah, questing, Goblin Lackey, and also Kronks if he wants to get that turbo kill. But I think next turn's just the questing and the Lackey, like you say. Absolutely monstrous questing coming in.
And for DeadDraw, at first glance, this looks like a straightforward Glavebound Adept turn, but with the amount of development he's seen Pignas have, I wonder if he's going to start sending damage face, if he feels like he's fallen that far behind in the matchup. I don't think the Miscreant is looking too threatening at the moment.
Yeah, from where DeadDraw sat, it's probably not too terrifying, because he can't see what we can see. That's a lot of damage.
Yep. I mean, he's got the meta hand and the second Glavebound. I think it makes a lot of to be trading with the face here, I suppose. And he has the consume magic for the questing.
The eviscerate.
Oh my gosh, that's huge for Pignas.
Absolutely monstrous. If he doesn't want to use it, I understand, but it just makes everything so easy for him.
He's not using it here?
I thought he'd just straight up kill the 6/4 and keep a slightly smaller questing, but this makes sense as well.
Right, he can rush the ethereal and then rush the other one by shadow stepping. Questing is getting very scary level of attack, but DeadDraw is able to play Metamorphosis, free up that consume magic, and get the card draw alongside that.
So, no choice but to kill the questing. Unless you can kill your opponent, which you can't. Always the first check for Demon Hunter. We saw just basically just kill his opponent from a stupid score.
I mean, he can start the quest to killing him, right? Meta, hero power face, and then silence the questing. Sort of helps him. But the problem is, it's still not enough damage, even with both procs of the meta and the Glavebound. That's just 14. I guess you can weave in some hero powers there. And if this 2/2 goes face, maybe you do just get there because there's also Kayn in hand, but it's irrespective of the possibility of armor coming up and I guess a counter lethal.
Yeah, and also just Kronks healing. I keep on about the Kronks, but it's so versatile in this exact matchup.
Here we saw DeadDraw hover over the Kayn. Looks like he could be deviating from the meta plan. He doesn't necessarily need the card draw from the Outcast as long as this questing gets silenced, so he's still attempting to go for some semblance of board control. The deviation means his meta will take an extra turn to get through, but he gets a 6/4 on board, which is very relevant.
It is, and it's going to delay probably the Galacon for a turn. But now this is where the Eviscerate that was saved last turn is going to be gigantic.
Huge. And the Cold Blood can't be underestimated as well to start pushing face damage as well as Pignas.
Yep. And as long as he doesn't die, he's going to be in a fairly stable position. Well, not fairly stable, but reasonably stable position because of Galacon into Kronks. Like you say, it's 2-turn lethal coming back the other way now.
Yeah, the Galacron into Kronks takes a while to get through. Of course, he gets the immediate 5 armor, but there's no chance to zero cost the Kronks because it's already in hand. So for DeadDraw, we could see him preload the meta. You can hero power first, meta hero also fit in the I-beam, remove the questing, but I don't think he can afford to respect this Miscreant here. He needs to kill Pignas. And from where he sat, I'm turning British, it is just 13, right? With the 2 meta pings and the Kayn. Just doesn't know if there's Galacron.
He doesn't, although the slow way this has progressed, I think he's likely got a good idea. Plus the way it's all panned out, I'm sure he's got a very good idea as well. You sometimes just know. But
there's another opportunity to deviate here and try building a board. He's a 1 mana short from Smith being super clean, but he could go Warglaves and Satyr Overseer, develop 2 2/2s alongside that. I think it is just that little bit slow though, because he then wouldn't have the mana to go for meta and Kayn and hero power all at the same time next turn. So I like that he's eventually settled on this.
2 more turns happens, and we will know the finalist one way or another. Well, we won't if DeadDraw wins, I guess, but... Oh...
He just has Degala here. DeadDraw is stressed
Should he have Lucky
out.
first? I guess he wants the information.
Oh!
And he wants the 0 mana questing.
So now that puts DeadDraw on a clock himself. There's 2-turn lethal on the other side. It's very likely because of the Kronks. Head crack?
Oh my. I'm looking at DeadDraw's hand, just seeing if there's any way he can get 12.
Would involve Skull of Gul'dan, I think.
Chaos
Not
Strike.
another war.
Chaos Strike.
Oh my goodness.
And as we've probably suspected for some time, it's looking really bleak here. Just look at this distribution of minions DeadDraw's got to deal with, and how much of his damage it uses up dealing with them.
He had to respect those minions. He's going to deal with the questing and the lackey here. Still doesn't necessarily set him up with lethal on the follow-up, but there are plenty of top decks that can help him shore up the additional damage.
I'm 5ing you in the face and healing for 5. I never do that in this situation, but that's what I'm doing and head cracking you. And if you want to do 13, good luck.
You take the 8/8 here, I think.
Interesting.
Because you've seen meta. Okay, I guess that doesn't respect Kane.
Have you seen? You've seen both full pairs, so your 8/8.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Silence, but
right.
Yeah, you haven't seen Kane, so I'm just 5ing you in the face and head cracking you and telling you if you do 13, well played.
What about?
Yeah, that works too. And I don't know what combination gets him an additional 7 damage on top of the Kane being played.
He couldn't do it last turn, so...
Yeah. Well, are there some miracle skulls here? There's just no way to freeze even to get time because the head crack is there.
Altruist is not a skill. You need a skill into Altruist to make it work any sort of way, I think. He's having a last look, but he knows that's the resigned look.
It's just not there. That draw came extremely close yet again. Qualifying for Grandmasters, but fell short at the last hurdle. Pignas is through to the finals. I'm sure very many happy Italian fans are cheering for him right now, but honestly, I have to say my heart goes out to DeadDraw so much. This man, I feel like the system has failed him, Lorinda.
I understand those sentiments entirely. He's going to have to somehow bounce back and do it all again to get into another chance of doing it. I don't know what more. Well, I do know what more he needs to do. He needs to win one extra match somewhere at the right time. But it's a great moment for Pignas in his first big event for at least a long time, and he still hasn't got it done to get to Grandmasters. And there's the extra intrigue now in this final. If Warmer wins, the Frenchman, he will get his French compatriot into Grandmasters. And if he loses, he better do well in Grandmasters to appease the French audience.
Very true. I mean, as much as we've been hyping up DeadDraw, there's also a looming character that's not on this graphic. That's IROC, who had a previous top 2 in a different Masters tour. And if Warma manages to take the win, that edges IROC's prize total to be just a little bit higher than Pignas's, and we could see potentially all 3 new European GMs be from France, but not if Pignas has something to say about it.
And that is down to IROC. Before this tournament, again, I've mentioned this earlier, but I spoke to him a bit, and he was like, I'm not going to take this easy. I need every dollar I can get, and this is showing why. Because those few dollars he got from getting to, well, few, he got 2 and a bit thousand from getting to 6 wins means that IROC now has one last chance to reach Grandmasters by Pignas failing in the final that he may not have had otherwise.
all the stakes. And if anyone was following iRock's Twitter, he's been tweeting out that even from the top 8 stage, he had many chances to be immediately safe if the non-European players took the wins there. But it seemed like a lot of things were going against him. And it's now coming all down to the finals to see whether it's going to be Pignas or iRock getting that last Grandmaster slot. And also, very importantly, who's going to be the champion of MT Jönköping Online?
Yep, and we are going to not mess around any longer. We're going to take a very short break and get back to you with that final as soon as possible.